Um, so finally, after a long break, so looks like the topic of the farmer protest is continuing, and there is new events happening, including the international stars um, joining the whole saga here. So again, I tried listening to Dhruv and Akash Banerjees, but again, it's so hard to listen to them because there's not a whole lot of a substance there. It's like, you know, uh, it's almost condescending. Like, um, I'm not sure if I said that word correctly, but uh, it's a very mocking tone. There is not a whole lot of arguments, and maybe the arguments probably like some of those videos are so long. I don't have the patience to listen to the entire length of the video, especially when uh, you know it's just very childish in nature. But again, a few things that I got from what's going on. One of the things is one tweet, Modi is scared or the government is scared and all. So I'm like, why are we gloating over that? Like, it doesn't make sense to me. Um, you know, this is such a strange behavior. It's such a slave mentality that we have. Um, so, like Indians as a whole, they should always bow down to foreign powers and not just foreign powers, but just, the white skin and now the black skin. It's just that we're never good enough. Our democratic process is never good enough. Our leaders are never good enough. We just always have to look outside. Our stars are never good enough. Our heritage is never good enough. Our traditions are not like, what's this slave mentality? Like, I don't get it. Like, on the contrary, like, I want to go over a few more points. On the contrary, the world has actually always learned from us, and they still do. This, again, the whole Greta thing, like, we should be learning how to conserve environment from from West, from Europe, from America. Actually, it's the other way around. They should learn from us. The whole vegan debate. Oh, okay, finally, now we have understood and we've learned that there is such a thing as kindness towards animals, right? And not only that's kindness towards animals, but it's good for the environment. Now we're going to invent kindness towards animal, and we're gonna tell you how to be kind towards animals, while all along mocking Indians for many centuries for being vegetarians, right? For worshiping and actually being kind to animals and cows. Now they're saying that, oh, eating beef is, or not eating beef is probably the single most individual action that you can take um, to prevent climate change. And without regard or without giving any credits to Indians who have been practicing that for almost a millennia or more, right? If anything, West taught Indians sort of, to go the other way, that, you know, this entire last century or more, like you eat what you want to eat. That's the liberal concept, right? And it's so bizarre that this whole liberal, I mean, what is like again, I get so many short circuits. It's like you have stopped applying your mind. Like there is no common sense there. Okay, I'll go by few of the list that you see on the screen. One tweet, Modi is scared. I don't think so. We should be scared. We have to get out of this mentality. right? We should stop being scared. A lot of the progress that West has made is because they got that confidence. And that confidence, they achieved that confidence in a very cruel way. A lot of their confidence comes from winning wars, building nuclear bombs, and just being on top of the world, being able to, you know, colonize native lands and have. So, have you ever thought, what's the liberal concept? Like, why does West has so much land resource and other resources, a lot of what has come down to them from colonial time, right? How is that fair, right? For example, the air. We all share the air, like nobody's colonized air, at least not yet, and it kind of works out fine, right? I mean, the good thing is there's an abundant amount. Land might be scarce in some sense, but we never question that, right? We're saying that, oh, they're not colonial, there was a colonial past, but it's no more there. But again, like one of the questions that liberals invoke a lot, who benefits? Who benefits? Who benefits from this law? Who benefits? Okay, I like that argument actually. Who benefits? Let me ask you this question. In the last 500 years, who has been benefiting from whatever concept that has come about? Uh, be it, industrialism, be it liberalism, be it colonialism, be it globalism, be it socialism. Tell me of all the isms that have been thrown at us, um, in a way, if you want to call it on third world, who has benefited? Surely we haven't benefited, right? War and terror, like you name it, any concept that we've latched onto, we really haven't benefited from it, right? Or if we have benefited, it's almost like, come down to us, like sort of that's trickle down kind of a way. Um, you know, it's amazing and crazy that as liberal as we want to be and think about liberalism as a concept, we never think liberally, right? Okay, back to the farmer question, the poor farmers. You know, does does America or West or anybody really care about poor farmers of India? I mean, if they do, they have huge amounts of land. Let them in, right? I mean, they want to do farming. You've employed robots to do your farming. Why don't you throw those robots in the ocean and just let Indian farmers have a job, right? No, that's the most liberal thing to do. I mean, I was actually listening to a documentary or something, or not really a documentary. They call them liberal nuts or something in America. So one of them was like arguing for open borders. Yeah, I mean, isn't that a liberal concept? Like that is probably the most liberal concept, or most liberal thing to do today, or that we should do, right? You have people, millions of people that are cramped in this part of the world, in the Indian subcontinent, that are oppressed, and then you have vast amounts of land in West and in America and then in Russia and elsewhere, and in China, that are sparsely populated. Why don't we take this population and uh, migrate them to those lands? Isn't that a liberal thing to do? So this hypocrisy and this total lack of common sense It's almost as if, yeah, we're all one. We're not one. Rich countries are rich and poor countries are poor. That's a major differentiating factor. Indians did not uh, create the climate crisis. Industrialization did, West did, and they have the resources to fix it. They benefited from the CO2 emissions. Again, excuse me. Liberals like to ask this question a whole lot. Who benefited? Okay, who benefited from CO2 emissions? West did, right? Why don't then, I mean, they have this huge amount of wealth and they want to preserve their way of life, their wealthy way of life, and they and the consequences of this climate crisis, they're not going to bear it. The poor countries are going to bear that most, right? Let me go back to, again, some of the list thoughts that I had. Uh, IKEA is good, Ambani is bad. Okay, Ambani is bad. I mean, what is so much hatred for our own? Monsanto is good. Like they're gonna teach you about farming and the role of corporates in farming, where they, they're the country where Monsanto comes from. They're the country that have mechanized the farming. Like, can we afford mechanization of farming? I don't think so, right? Yeah, you can bring in a lot of robots, and maybe gradually we should do that, and that's the way sh we should go. But we have to acknowledge the fact that we're different. Like, what works in West and America doesn't necessarily work for us, right? So what I'm hearing is they will teach us human rights and environment preservation. How? Like, so America got out of the Paris Agreement, right? Now you say, yeah, yeah, but they've come back. Yeah, but again, so will we. I mean, America can make a mistake and then fix it. So can Indians, right? If we made a mistake in a farm bill, it doesn't mean that, the entire world has to come and attack us. I mean, what's their own record? I mean, their own parliament is getting attacked, and it's mind-boggling. We've got so much inferiority complex when it comes to West and or China or even Middle East. It's like somehow we feel as if our heritage. I mean, let's say even if there are problems, sometimes you have to hide them. Or okay, that's probably uh, a little bit strong and extreme. But okay, don't hide it. But at least presentation matters. You don't go in a job interview and uh, go on telling, okay, all the mistakes I made, all the weaknesses I have. You have to project yourself as a balanced and somebody confident who can do the job, right? Not just dwell over the weaknesses you have. You're not going to get the job, right? I mean, that's not what we do in our personal life. Like when these guys are creating these videos, they're trying their best to create videos that will give them, uh, uh, you can be honest, but at the same time, you can ooze confidence, right? And that's what we need. I mean, we need our heroes. We need our. We've been a civilization that have had so much beating over the years that we need now that sort of a balm of uh, healing where uh, we can gain that confidence, right? I mean, it's not you know it's people who make a nation, right? And it's people's confidence. Like it's not that, think about cricket. Like it took a while for India to emerge as a very strong nation when it comes to cricket. It's not that they couldn't have done it before. It's just a generational thing. It takes time. It's the mindset because when you come out of a certain historical space and an event space, your psychology, it's possible that is subdued, right? And that's likely what happened with us. And we're trying to come out of that, so-called, I mean, we can, if I can use the word slave mentality. And finally, we're coming out. We're seeing our heroes. Like we see, you know, that an Indian can be a Google CEO, a Microsoft CEO. We see that we can have a very strong prime minister. We can respond back to our uh, enemies on both sides, right? Now again, I'm using the word enemy. I know you can say, okay, why are they enemies and all that? Yeah, but at least we can respond them back in kind, right? I ultimately I think we should be able to repair the relationship in a way that the status of enemy changes from enemy to neighbors. But that aside, we're finally, you know, uh, becoming confident as a nation. Then why is this need to pull us back and show us that we're dirty, we're poor, we're illiterate, and that the mockery that yeah, these guys will become superpower. Who will then, right? If you, do you want, okay, I don't know, 30% BJP voters, you want to just take them out and like, okay, they're no good. You just want to uh, discount them from the future of India. Like, how is that even gonna work, right? Um, we love IKEA, but Ambani is bad. Okay, I said that already. Human rights. Okay. Uh, so we're gonna learn human rights from West, right? The only people on the planet that have dropped nuclear bombs, right? Uh, have a bad and cruel history of slavery, have conquered vast amounts of native lands, have disproportionate response to uh, terror events in terms of uh, bombing countries and even bombing countries that were not that again, like if you think about the 9/11 hijackers that were all from Saudi, right? Uh, we're gonna learn. So the UN has Saudi and China, uh, you know, leading some of the human right is sort of the human right leadership at the UN, and they're gonna teach us. Like, isn't this is like, have we lost our mind? Are we this miserable? Even, so many years after gaining independence, at some point in time, we have to, you know, eh, we have to stand up for us. They care about our poor. I mean, they don't even let your highly educated uh, people move in their countries. Like you, you're always like, India is like open for everybody. Like, okay, Rohingyas, please come in. Uh, uh, Pakistanis, please come in. Anybody oppressed anywhere, India is open. But have you ever thought about that? Where is, again, think about it mathematically and objectively. If there are oppressed people, right, shouldn't you take them to places where there are abundant resources, enough resources, and the countries and societies are mature enough that they can welcome them, and our liberal societies, like if they really cared about, again, I think I said that, um, if they really cared about our poor and oppressed, they would open their borders for us. Like, how is that they have a claim on large parts of Earth just because they conquered them in their colonial past? Is that a liberal thing? Like, then why do we as Indians are always eager that, yeah, yeah, I mean, we're like, okay, for them, it's like, oh, no, no, no. It's not that easy, right? You cannot have millions of people migrate to America or Europe. That doesn't make sense. Why? Because that's going to disrupt their way of life. They're used to having big houses. It will get so much crowded. Their sort of low income will have to compete, and it's not good. I mean, it's almost as if we as a third world are like, there are masters. We almost take all the wealthy nations and, the Western civilization as being above us, and we almost are like so eager that, oh, they should maintain their status, their wealth, and their way of life. They need all that land because, how can they live in dirty, crowded streets as we do, right? Now, some of you will come back at me and say, "Oh, wait a minute, but I mean, they've maintained their population. They've stabilized. Like they're not. They're sort of smart enough not to multiply and overpopulate, and that's why we should do the same. Yeah, let's do it. See, that's the hypocrisy. The moment you say that yes, India is overpopulated, we need to reverse, like, if anything, from 1.2 billion, I'd say we should go down to, you know, 100 years back, almost like 300 million or so. And the liberals are first one to, no, 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 that's not like, everybody should eat what they want. Everybody should, produce what they want and reproduce what, like, it doesn't work like that way. Like, you can't you can't have it both ways. Guys, okay. I'm sort of, again, my mind just have these short circuits. Um, anyways, okay. So back to the list. Okay, what do I have there? Um, okay, they will teach us kindness. Okay, I already talked about that, right? If anything, world should learn kindness from India. World should learn humility from India, right? Uh, our heritage is so rich, and you know the and the Americans actually acknowledge it, right? There are probably more yoga studios in America than in India, right? And I don't know why or mostly it's liberals, like, eh, never mind. I think I'm tired now. Uh, all right. I'll end it here. I know I need to be better prepared for some of these videos. I will try. But again, I think what I'm looking for is conversations. Um, you know, you can call me Bhakt if you have to, but I can guarantee you, I mean, let's debate. I mean, that's what I'm trying to spark here. There's not a whole lot of conversation here. Another thing, okay, I wanted to say before I leave you guys, if you look at, what countries uh, are doing most for climate change, or have done least damage in terms of emissions, India will come on top, right? Even with, the Western rankings, right? even though they're biased, they don't take into account per capita. They don't take into account the fact that a lot of the things that India produces ultimately, or even China produces, ultimately are getting consumed by Americans and Europeans. You know, if you take historical context, right? If you take into account that India is the least meat consuming country or a nation. If you take into account India is probably again one of the least consumption of energy per person, and so on and so forth. And that India is one of the leaders in trying to get on the sustainable energy, and like even Modi himself is a huge proponent of meeting the Paris goals and going sustainable. And the world admires him for that. And it's so crazy. Like, apply your mind, guys. Please apply your mind. Just try it. I guarantee you. I guarantee you, your mind is as functional, or maybe even better than the dumb minds that you follow in Dhruv and Akash Banerjee, or even like these stars like Rihanna and whatnot. Like, again, I have nothing against Rihanna. I mean, eh, I remember her from one of my favorite movies, Home, and I think she's one of the voices there, if I'm not mistaken. Uh, but again, I have nothing against Greta. I mean, yeah, she's brilliant, but and she's doing the right thing, but she's dumb, right? She's thinking she's saying or like dumb to have fallen for this. She's thinking about environment, but okay, we've almost permanently destroyed North Indian soil. Now that is part of the environment, right? And having fallen for such propaganda, uh, I mean, again, money is always the matter, right? We have to start, applying our minds to look at the world and, even help Westerners see India in a true light, right? Um, all they know about the caste system, nothing else, right? Finally, there has been the social media and YouTube and all that is changing that. Uh, you know, again, okay, caste system and other things, maybe conversation for another video. I think this is getting too long. I'll stop here. All right, guys, good night.